Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Well, as you know, it is our 15th birthday, and we're celebrating that tonight. And I wanted to let you know that there are a few people in this room who have been with SowHope for the whole 15 years, and I want to invite them up. There's about 7 of you out there, so come on up right now, please. You know who you are, founding board members, and a couple volunteers, donors. The first year of SowHope, you probably noticed that we had 100 donors, and there's on the screen there'll be a list. They ran it a few minutes ago. It was the wrong video, but it was a list of everybody who's still donating and volunteering to SowHope. You guys could run that again while this is going on, maybe. So why don't you guys light these candles up? Help me out here. And I do want to have you in a second. Let me introduce some of these people. This is Dave Crawford. He was the founding board member, the founding board treasurer, and he has been our bookkeeper for 15 years. Dave knows where every penny came from and where every penny went. In the middle there is Bonnie and Craig. They are Sunlight Inc. And Bonnie was our founding board secretary, and they are going to lead us in a wonderful round of happy birthday in just a second. Behind me is Deb Rayburn, and Larry. They've been volunteering and donating since the first time we had the first photo exhibit. And down below here is Michelle Wise. She also was a first-year donor and has been at every event we've had, and it continues to help us quite a bit. And this is my wonderful husband over there on the end. I made him wear that hat, so I'll put mine on too. And I'd like you guys just to stand up and sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear SowHope. Happy birthday to you. Woo! All right. Blow those out. Blow out the candles. By the way, are Lyle and Carm here? You were supposed to be up here. You were there at the first year, too. Okay, well, thanks, everybody. All right. All right. We started out in 2006 with little money, but a lot of heart and hope. We had an exceptional founding board, and we continue to have a great board. With the current board members, please stand up and be recognized. Even you out there online, stand up and be recognized where you're at. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. We've always had the strategy of finding the best possible local leaders in the countries where we're funding projects. These are leaders who are helping women in their own communities in the developing world, and we just come alongside them and encourage them with resources and friendship. We have a tremendous level of trust with our partners. When COVID hit, we were able to nimbly respond to their cries for help. We are an organization committed to sustainable development, which promotes economic independence rather than charity. Charity provides for needs, but it causes dependence. For example, the difference between charity and sustainable development would be charity is handing out food and clothes to save poor children. A sustainable income generating program would be teaching women how to sew or farm. Then the women could earn their own money and afford to buy their children food and clothes. This is a much more dignified way to help the poor. Our goal is to work to so empower the beneficiaries that they are independent, and we are no longer needed in their area and can move on to other areas. This is the vision we give them when we move into their areas, when we go to their group. Over the past 15 years, we've partnered with over 60 leaders in 23 countries. Tonight, you're going to get to hear from some of them. Thanks to the pandemic, we and our partners have been able to be more connected technologically. That is one good thing about the pandemic. Of course, nothing replaces personal visits. But when you can't make those 24 to 36-hour flights, Zoom is a pretty nice alternative. I'd like to introduce you to one of our partners so you can hear from her yourselves as she describes the situation in Nepal and one of her projects. This is Jyoti from Nepal. This is the last place we got to visit before COVID hit. She oversaw a project to make face masks. They already were using face masks for pollution, and we met a man who wanted to be able to hire more women to make masks because they were in such demand, even before the pandemic. The pandemic and our funding made it possible for him to ramp up the business and help several women start their own sustainable mask-making businesses. Let's watch the Jyoti film.
Because we found some of the families, they could have starving. They could not share when they lost their job and they could not go outside, they could not work and they have no money. They could not pay the house rent and they could not feed their families. Even we heard like some families suicide during this period because of the hunger. And then afterwards, people started helping each other. Face mask production project, they felt so much happy because they thought like it is the thing they are making, what is really needed for the pandemic time. So they felt we are also valuable to contribute something for the society. That was really good thing. And also they are making some money during this really horrible time so that they can make some income for their family. Together we can make a difference.
Some of those women were so successful that they had to move to other towns to start to run their businesses. I want to share two things that I've learned over the last 15 years. And I think this will give a little background to the new people. Would the new people that are here please raise their hands? If you've never been to a SowHope event, would you just raise your hand? Thanks. We're very glad you're here. The first thing is that the plight of women is worse than I originally thought. As we've said, women suffer disproportionately from having low status. They suffer physically, educationally, economically, and culturally. I want to give you a little warning. Some of the contents of this speech will be disturbing. Physically, women are abused and exploited with nearly complete impunity. Suffering starts early, as girls as young as 6 years old go through female genital mutilation. Some girls are forced into early marriages with older men and endure unspeakable things that no young girl should ever have to face. One woman at a shelter SowHope supports in Afghanistan had to run away from her husband's family to protect her 4-year-old daughter from an early marriage. Her 11 and 12-year-old daughters had been given in marriage against her will. She wept bitterly when she told me that she hoped they were dead because she feared the agony that they might be enduring. Many women also die in childbirth because they have to give birth alone in a hut. We have funded many midwives and birthing centers so women can live and their babies can live. When women contract any disease like AIDS or an illness like obstetric fistula that disables them in any way, instead of being helped, they are outcast, considered cursed, and left to a lonely, miserable existence. Let's hear from another partner in Burkina Faso. This is a husband and wife team. He is a surgeon, she is a registered nurse. They help women who have suffered an obstetric fistula. Fistulas happen usually to young women who are too small to deliver their babies. During the birth, the baby's head presses against the vagina wall for many hours and causes a tear or a fistula. Eventually, the baby is stillborn. Afterward, urine and sometimes feces leak uncontrollably through the fistula, causing a horrible stench. These women are almost always abandoned and neglected. There are over 2 million women in the world with this condition. A fairly simple surgery can fix a fistula. Dr. Itengrede and Rasmata have asked us to fund surgeries and to now build a small clinic that can be dedicated just to fistula patients because they are not welcome in the regular hospitals. Let's watch the Burkina Faso film.
To say it literally, as people used to say here, if we are not able to do surgery to these women, they are just finished. So I believe having this clinic to increase our capacity to help women will make a big difference to their life. The first thing is really making them feel again human beings and helping them to get back to the society with capability to get involved in the normal activity, in the family, in the community, and all the society. So personally, I believe treating the fistula patient and helping them with training in income generating activity make a big difference in their life. Not only in their personal life, but in the community as a whole thing. You know, it is just like even if you are alive, you died. In our community, culturally, woman is really important because woman does almost everything at home. So when a woman gets the fistula, the first thing is she's not able to meet the expectation at home. She's not able to go to meeting. She's not able to go to market. She's not able to get work. She feels like she cannot take care of her own children as she would like to. And more importantly, in some culture, just like in Burkina Faso, she would still be at home. And some of them, you will ask them and they will say, oh yes, I am still married. But she's not married, she's only there. The husband will go and marry another wife. And because marriage is directed by cultural setting, she cannot go out, but nobody cares about her. So finally, it is just like existing without being there. After they get surgery and they heal, of course, the first thing is their physical restoration, physical healing. And of course, emotional healing because they feel important once again. But second, most of them get to restore a normal life with the husband. The other thing, of course, if they are able to get pregnant again, and so because some of them get the fistula at the first pregnancy and lose the baby. So if they are able to get pregnant, they get a baby, and this is a good expectation to them. The other thing, they are able again to go among other women. And, the community, being among the community in West Africa is very important. Being able to attend at community meeting and even at churches, mosques, this is very important for people. So they have the sense of belonging again to a community. And finally, they are able again to do their small works because if you have a fistula in the village, even if you sell something, nobody will buy. Because people say this is like the dirty woman or the cursed woman. So you are not even able to go to take water in the wheel, because when you get there, people will go away. So they go by night to rest after they are healed. And, as an example, last week, we did a surgery on a lady who lived 30 years with the fistula. And when she was saying thanks to us, she said, when I get home now, the first thing people will say, the cursed lady has come back. but they don't know I am coming back with gold. So that was amazing. Together, we can make a difference.
We're in the middle of funding a 2-story clinic, so Dr. Utengre can do about 10 surgeries a week. We just sent a container full of medical equipment and supplies, and it should reach there in about 2 to 3 months. Women suffer physically. They also suffer educationally. Women are undereducated, having to leave school when they reach puberty, if they ever even got to go. And twice as many impoverished women are illiterate as compared to men. We have funded literacy projects in many countries. One Indian woman explained that once she could read and do math, she felt so free. Why, I asked her. Because now I can count and use money. I can read the signs and take a bus and go to the city and buy supplies and bring them back and sell them in my village for a profit. Another woman in Uganda told me when I asked her what the best part of being literate was, said, now I can read my child's report card. No one has to tell me how my child is doing in school now. It's amazing what reading does for people and the dignity it brings. Economically, women are overworked and underpaid. One estimate that I read, which I think actually is conservative, says that women do about 70% of the world's labor and receive about 10% of the earned wages. 80% of the world's farmers are women who farm by hand. In sub-Saharan Africa, they produce 80% of the food. I'd like to show you another partner. Her name is Victoria from Sierra Leone, and she decided to do a sustainable farming project this past year. During the COVID lockdown, she went to the authorities and asked permission to do a socially distanced group farming project, and they allowed her to do it. Let's watch the Victoria video.
It's made a huge difference because on the lives of the women were languishing, so to speak. They had no voice. With money in their hands now, because they are farming, they are able to do a lot of things. They could now leave their abusive homes and continue with the work they are called to do. Farming helps women economically, which in turn empowers the community. Because if the women are poor, the community will be poor. So as a result of the empowerment of the women through farming, the communities also are empowered. The importance of food during the COVID cannot be overemphasized. It was very, very important because there was such a shortage of money. They could not have money to buy their stuffs, but because they could farm, they were able to provide food for themselves and their families and the communities as well. So the importance of food during the COVID that SowHope helped us with cannot be overemphasized.
What would have happened if SowHope would not have given you the money? What would have happened to the women, to the community? What would have happened?
Some of them would have died by now. That's one. And also the abuses would have increased. But because of the intervention of SowHope, all of these things were minimized. Abuse were minimized. The women were able to provide food and also economic gains for their families and their communities. So it's a plus. Together we can make a difference.
Did you catch that because of the farming project, not only did the community get to eat, but the abuse of women went down? This is the power of an astute local leader. They solve many problems with just one project. Culturally, women also suffer from basic human rights, like the right to own property. Many times they are the property. The way we determine if a group of women is eligible for our funding is whether they are considered to be appropriate age for marriage, are at risk of being sexually exploited. So some of our funding goes to women who are 6 or 7 years old, like I described earlier. Other young girls are being set apart as temple prostitutes, like the Devadasis in India. You can read more about that in the fall issue of our newsletter that's on your table. There are many double standards for impoverished women. In many areas where we fund projects to help women, husbands have multiple wives. But nowhere that I have been can women have multiple husbands, as if anyone needs more than one spouse. Right, honey? By the way, Doug and I just celebrated our 40th anniversary last month. That's what we're celebrating. He's an angel. I don't know how you did it. Men can come and go as they please, but women are forced to stay home or be covered and accompanied by a man to go out. This is a difficult situation for women. They cannot go to school, work, or live out their God-given potential. How awful. How awful that must be. With that said, still, women are resilient. I have talked to so many women who have shared terrible stories of abuse, neglect, and suffering, and yet, with just a little hope, they are transformed. I shared the story a few years ago about Marie in the Congo, who watched horrified as rebel soldiers killed her husband and then her 2-year-old son with machetes because there was no more money to give them. Then they attacked her and left her for dead. She was part of a group that received funding from our partner who was doing abuse counseling and income-generating activities. She still bears the scars and walks with a limp. She became a leader in that group and was in the group that was going out to find other women who had suffered similarly to try and help them heal and move on. Amazingly, she told me that they would like funding to try and go find the men that did that horrible thing to her. I assumed she was looking for justice and said so. She replied, "No, those men are suffering and they need what you have given us. They need hope. We want to give them what we have." That's when I discovered that I didn't really understand the depths of forgiveness. Women are responsible, and they're worthy of being helped. Very poor women acquire basic resources. When they acquire very basic resources, they multiply those resources and change their lives and the lives of their children. With any little extra money after feeding their families, women immediately send their children to school. The second thing I learned in the last 15 years, second great lesson was, nothing of lasting value is accomplished unless committed, compassionate, competent leaders are able to carry out what they believe is the right thing to do to make a difference in their communities. That is why we partner with local leaders, solving local problems using local solutions. We find people who are already helping women and ask them what their dreams are and what they would do with more resources. They tell us, and we fund their projects. They tell us they tell us and we fund their projects and help them carry out their own dreams. This way, they own their projects because it is their idea. On the contrary, when we Westerners go and tell poor people what to do, even when it may not be culturally appropriate, give them all the resources, and pay their salaries, the minute we leave and the funding stops, the project falls apart. And then we scratch our heads and wonder what happened. Or worse, we blame them for the failure. But if someone has an idea and they tell you what they want to do and you fund that, do you think it might work better because they know their local circumstances better than you and their reputation for success is on the line? When people are paid to do your idea, it only lasts as long as the funding. When it is their idea, they almost always make it work, no matter the funding, because their heart is in it. Can you think of something that was your idea, that you worked harder than normal, or you put your life or your assets on the line for? How'd that work out for you? Listen carefully to Rhoda as she describes the difference between working for a big charity and getting project funding from SowHope. Let's watch Rhoda.
Working with SowHope has really given me a joy and also has really made my dream become true. Because when I was in Bahr el Ghazal, I was working with the women, but it looked like I was tied down. I could not do what I want for the women. But meeting Mary at SowHope give me the joy and also give me the courage to move on. So I was to plan what I see at the grassroots and come up with the issue that is the real problem that is affecting the women. And seeing that this is the fourth year now, and I have seen a great difference in the women because women were not people who are respected in the community, but working with SowHope has made a great difference of giving dignity to the women. It has also helped women from poverty to sustainability. So women now, they are able to cater for themselves. They are able also to have their rights and to know their rights also. And this time now, they are resilient and have seen them that they are able to unite to one another, and also not at themselves alone, but also reaching at the grassroots to their husbands and their uncles. So I have seen a great change when I met SowHope because their heart is helping the needy people at the grassroots, not just for the sake of the project, but for the sake of life changes. And this is what gives me joy, and I'm happy always. If we would have not worked with SowHope this year, then the women would have died of hunger. Together, we can make a difference.
Of course, the COVID pandemic has insidiously entered onto the worldwide scene and wreaked havoc everywhere. When COVID hit, we were strategically placed to make a big difference in the lives of people living in extreme poverty all over the world. Because we don't need to be there. The partners come up with the ideas, and they do all the work. And they should get all the credit. That's one of the reasons I am trying to show you so many partners tonight. They are the ones in the trenches, coming up with the ideas and doing the work and saving lives. At SowHope, we don't have a lot of money, and I've realized that the best thing that we do at SowHope is literally SowHope. I didn't even like this name when I started this organization. I thought it was a terrible marketing nightmare. But I've come to realize that even though we're small, the best thing we do is give hope, and hope really changes everything. This past year was definitely our best year for significantly impacting women, their children, and their communities. If you think it was bad here with the toilet paper shortage, you should know that it was way worse in the poor areas of the world, where the infrastructure and the supply chains are much more fragile than here. Many of them didn't even have toilet paper to begin with, so at least that wasn't a problem there. We realized early on that the pandemic could upend much of the hard-earned success of many of our beneficiaries around the world. People were not allowed out of their houses, and when you only have food for a day, things can get dire fast. Our partners were used to only getting funding for projects that had a sustainable component to them. But early on in the pandemic, we considered two things. First, there was a lot of fear that funding would fall for nonprofits and that they should preserve their money because of the pandemic. At SowHope, we have been fiscally conservative, saving up to 10% a year with the goal of having our funds in place at the beginning of each year. When the pandemic hit, we had an annual budget and the money to spend, and we decided this was no time to withhold funding. In fact, with people's lives at stake, our friends, we felt we should increase our grants and do what we could to help our partners and their beneficiaries. We knew it could be risky, and we might end up with nothing at the end of the year, but at least we would go out trying to help as much as we could during a global crisis. The second thing was that we also decided that desperate times call for desperate measures. We knew that we could not require sustainable development when people were not able to go to work. We would need to resort to charity in this difficult worldwide situation. We contacted our partners and let them know that we would be sending stimulus funds to them. They did not need to apply for the funds like they normally do. They only needed to let us know what they did with the money. This is what years of friendship and trust allows. We never for 1 second doubted that the funds would be used to the greatest, most efficient, and effective ways possible to help the most people possible. In fact, about half the partners still cleverly used some of their stimulus funds for sustainable projects, like Jyoti and Victoria have already shared. The other half needed to stop starvation, and they bought foodstuffs to distribute. Let me show you another video from Sarah, who describes some of the struggles that women in Nigeria face on a daily basis, and especially now during COVID. Let's watch Sarah's video.
The Fulani headers or from the kidnappers, women are not finding it easy to go to the farms. We are afraid of being raped. We are afraid of being kidnapped. And this is what has been happening to us. So also another consequence is the fact that because of the drought, we don't have enough food now. Most of the crops were dried up, especially beans, which was supposed to come at the later part of the year. Beans, there's not much beans here, so it becomes very, very expensive. And also because of the flood, rice was washed away. We have very little rice now around us to eat. And also, borders were closed. So no importation of goods coming in. Another problem is the fact that so many people died out of hunger. There was no food. People are locked inside the houses, nothing to eat, nobody to provide. Even if you have a relative, there's no way they can go to you and give you food to eat. And so in your rooms, you stay alone, nothing to eat, and so you fall sick and die alone. It was only you that gave us support, except for the little that we have around us, that we have been managing. And so many have died because they did not get that support. So if you hadn't helped us, I don't know what would have happened to us. Maybe some of us would have died too. And I'm saying I'm also grateful that God has attached me to Mary and to SowHope, that I'm getting help. Mary, you have impacted lives with this support in 6 states in Nigeria, 6. It becomes 6 because some of the women that comes to learn skills from us will go back to their states and they will continue training others there. That is how we grow to other states. Together, we can make a difference.
So tonight's theme is make a difference. And over the last few years, we have been asking ourselves and our partners, if what we do at SowHope, does it really make a difference? You've heard from some of our partners, and now I want to show you one last video of a woman who is such a great leader. She comes up with the most amazing projects to dramatically change lives and whole communities. Even one group of widows that I met back in 2009 who were just waiting around to die have had several income-generating projects under Josephine's leadership. They went from losing everything in the 2008 war and were on the brink of ruin to telling me, we don't need any more funding, we are all fine now, with repaired houses, with farm animals, with so much food, and now we even have savings. They told me, go and help women poorer than us so they can be transformed just like we were. Let's watch Josephine's video.
I'm Josephine from Kenya, and I love SowHope.
And we love you.
There is a lot of difference that SowHope has made to the women we have been training, and because they never expected the COVID-19, their savings were used. And they were not able, they got a lot of fear because they didn't know how they were going to survive again. Because SowHope has an open heart to receive our ideas and our fears and our worries. And when we shared with SowHope, they were ready to give the stimulus to reawaken the women. Because most of them had been admitted in hospital and out of stress, out of feeling, now it is just death. They saw just death. But when SowHope gave the stimulus, they felt like they were resurrected, and they kept moving on. And they were able to ration the funds they had. And they were able to have activities even for the children to keep them busy. SowHope resurrected, revived the women because they had lost hope and they thought it was just death. They could see death, but now they're able to move on. If we had not come and shared our worries with SowHope, we would have buried not only women, but girls. Together, we can make a great difference.
Women in 3 different countries have told us that they do not need any more funding and to go help other women. You know, earlier I forgot to have you guys use these, we bought all these goofy little things. They don't make any noise. Oh, there you go. I think it's time we should make some noise and celebrate what's going on, what is going on here. All right, all right. Why do yours work and mine don't? Okay. All right. Normally I would take a few minutes and answer some questions, but we're running a little bit late, so I'm just going to let you know that in a few minutes, Molly Coonley is going to come and sing a song that she's prepared. After Molly sings, Naday, our board secretary, will come and give some final comments and some instructions for you. Let me conclude right now by reminding you that the plight of women in the poorest parts of the world is still prevalent. And I believe they are the largest, most oppressed group in the world and worthy and deserving of our help. And secondly, the solution to their plight lies in their own dedicated, caring, and capable local leaders having some resources to make a difference. By the way, do you know what happened last year when we decided to risk all of our savings to help our partners around the world? You, the SowHope donors, responded more generously than any other year and gave more than we had saved in the first 14 years. You are the ones that make it possible for our partners to make their dreams come true and to make a real difference in the lives of deserving women. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for caring. You make a difference. God bless you, and good night. Molly?
All right, one more time. Somewhere over the rainbow way, up high in the land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where trouble melts like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come